the moment are over there. Now, granted, we do have some openings in the SEC East. We need to figure out what Tennessee is going to do. We need to figure out what Florida is going to do. People are making up controversies with Jacob Eason and Jacob Fromm down in Georgia. What's Georgia going to do? We answer those questions, and it's very, very possible that not only will we discover that the SEC East is an improved vision of football this year, but possibly that maybe more of the better quarterbacks are actually over there. After all, Austin Allen, the truth, is a senior. So, I mean, you've got things like that going on. You've got a junior and Jarrett Stidham and all those things, whereas the quarterbacks that are going to be in the SEC East, we're going to see them for the next 3 to 4 years. They're very young, right? So I'm very sort of excited about the prospect of that because that means that possibly the SEC East as a division of football, and it was last year, undeniably, statistically, one of the worst divisions in college football, any conference, right? Around as terrible, if not worse, than the Big 12. Around as terrible, if not worse, than the ACC South. It was bad. It was just really bad and underachieving in particular. But what I'd want to talk about today is the NFC South in the NFL. It's the most competitive division of football it's going to be home of the best football this NFL season. I was just going through all the different divisions, and you have these things in flux. You've got some divisions of football that are always competitive. You've got some divisions of football that are never competitive, right? Like the AFC East with the Patriots, it's never competitive. It's never competitive. The Patriots are the best team in that division. They are arguably the best team in football, and they are challenged by actually no one in that division, right? The Jets never challenged them. The Bills never challenged them. The Dolphins played good football last year, but to be honest, they were never a challenge for the Patriots. So you just have like the AFC East, you can just go ahead and write off. It's always a horrible division of football. The AFC North, to me, is always a good division of football. Yes, you have the Browns, but the Bengals always compete. The Steelers always compete. The Ravens always compete. The Ravens have been sort of falling back to the pack, which is why, to me, that division's a weaker division now. NFC West has struggled. Where they once upon a time they looked like they were one of the better divisions of football. You had the Rams playing at a high level a few years back, high level, but they were like a 500 football team. They were playing at a decent level a few years back. The Cardinals were playing at a high level, and it's unclear as Carson Palmer continues to age exactly what level of football they can actually maintain. The 49ers are trash, and the Seahawks are really good. So these things always remain in flux, and what's to me flexing up is the NFC South. It is by far the most competitive division of football, and I don't know that necessarily is going to produce the best football team going into the playoffs, but it will produce a lot of the best games that we're going to watch this year, and just generally a lot of the best football. And of course, as a result, like all of the great storylines in the league are going to be passing through the NFC South. So what has the NFC South done that's made it such a competitive division of football? Well, I'll tell you. And I'll start with the team that I was most disappointed in last year, which was the Carolina Panthers. I thought that the Panthers were going to sort of continue what they built on in 2015. They went to the Super Bowl. They were 15-1. You had an unbelievable MVP type year out of Cam Newton. And then this team absolutely regresses. They move backwards. They're 6-10, bitten by that Super Bowl curse that I don't believe exists. And we'll get to that in a second. And they lose to the Broncos in the Super Bowl and just forget how to play football. They're just ineffective in a number of ways. And a lot of people are talking about Cam's year as a quarterback, that Cam was an outlier, which I don't believe, that it was just an aberration of a year for him, and that ultimately he is still this weak quarterback that's lacking in sort of knowledge of the game, awareness of on-field situational football. I think that's all baloney, okay? You don't all get to praise Cam one year when he's having a great year, and then the next year the team is 6-10, and then you just come down on him like he is some kind of awful football player. It's the same football player that was in 2015, that was in 2016. Okay, but you need to play a very specific kind of football with Cam Newton as your quarterback, because you know he's not the most accurate quarterback. You know this, right? Like for me, I treasure accuracy in a quarterback above everything else, which is why if I had to start a team, if I had to start a football team, I would not draft Cam Newton as my quarterback, right? Like I would pick a number of other quarterbacks before I took Cam Newton, because I'm interested in accuracy. But if you don't have accuracy and you do have Cam, you can win lots of football games with Cam. You can go to a Super Bowl with Cam and start the season with that as a reasonable expectation. But you need to play a specific kind of football with Cam Newton. You do. It needs to be a running-based game where the attention for the run is diverted onto other people so that Cam Newton has a chance to destroy a defense. That's what you need. You need Cam Newton to have a chance, and he doesn't usually. Like last season, he didn't have a chance. He was getting beaten up in the pocket. He was getting beaten up outside of the pocket. It didn't matter if he dropped back to throw, if he took off to run. Cam Newton was getting his teeth kicked in, right? Like he's just getting beaten up. And there wasn't anybody else to really take attention off of Cam. There really wasn't. Like Jonathan Stewart is a huge part of what they do, and he's usually one of those guys, but you need like a third banana, and there wasn't one last year, right? Like they relied heavily on Fozzie Whitaker. Like Fozzie Whitaker, like you can't have that be a staple in your offense. Like one of the staples in our offense is Cam Newton, the other one is Jonathan Stewart, and Fozzie Whitaker. Like that's not a way to run an offense. Fozzie Whitaker is, I suppose, capable of running the football decently, but he's not running it at a level enough that you see him out on the field and anybody's afraid of him. Fozzie Whitaker is not winning one-on-one matchups, so you focus all your attention on Cam, okay? And because you take away Cam's ability to run, you seal his ability to run, now he's got to beat you with his arm. Cam can't beat you with just his arm, and we knew this already. That's why drafting Christian McCaffrey to me is so important. And what makes the Panthers such a dangerous football team now is that when you look at what the Panthers did very well in their Super Bowl year, in 2015, their Super Bowl year, that they went to the Super Bowl, what they did well was they did a good job of picking up first downs on short yardage situations and long yardage situations, right? In situations where they had to pick up simply 1 or 3 yards to pick up a first down, they picked up 66 of those in 2015. They only picked up 50 in 2016, right? Like that's a 16 first down drop-off over the course of an entire NFL season. It adds up, especially when you look at all of these games that the Panthers were losing. These are close football games that they lost. And in 2015, it was close football games that they won. The ability to pick up an extra first down here and an extra first down there is the difference between winning and losing a number of football games in the National Football League, where most games are decided by 2 or 3 possessions or 1 or 2 possessions anyway, right? Like the average NFL game is won or lost by 3 to 5 points. Then when you fail to pick up 16 first downs, when you pick up 16 first downs fewer in a season than you did in the previous year, that can only hamper you and hurt you, right? And then in situations where there were 7 to 9 yards to go, right, regardless of down, we're just looking at distance here, where there was 7 and 9 yards to go to pick up a first down. In 2015, the Super Bowl year, the Panthers picked up 17 first downs. In 2016, with 7 to 9 yards to go for a first down, they picked up 5 all season. Just 5. 5. Yeah, it's no wonder they struggled to win football games last year. Well, Christian McCaffrey, I don't want to sell the guy as the sort of catch-all, fix-all to all of these problems, but Christian McCaffrey is kind of the catch-all, fix-all to all of these problems because he's not just a running back. He's not just a running back. He's an offensive weapon. Line up Christian McCaffrey everywhere and anywhere you want, and he simply dominates. right? He wins those matchups that you can't rely on Fozzie Whitaker to win. I like Christian McCaffrey as an addition to the Panthers because it perfectly aids what they do. Now, I actually thought that McCaffrey, Fournette, they were going to go off the board in reverse order and that the Panthers would be stuck trying to get Leonard Fournette, which to me is still a nice thing to have. Leonard Fournette perfectly runs between the tackles. And then on top of that, Leonard Fournette has better pass catching ability than people give him credit for. But you put Christian McCaffrey anywhere on that football field and he does nothing but help Cam. He bails Cam out in some situations where maybe Cam doesn't make the best decisions. Cam is a guy that he'll try and fit the ball into tight windows. Don't do that. Just check down to Christian McCaffrey and he's still going to pick up big yards for you. So I like the Panthers to return to there, and this is not a hot take, I don't think. I think this is just should be common knowledge. I think the Panthers are capable of returning to their Super Bowl appearance form with the addition of Christian McCaffrey because what he does for this offense is huge. When you look at what the Panthers are able to do with Jonathan Stewart and Mike Tolbert as the two main guys, and now look at what they were not able to do as with Jonathan Stewart and Fozzie Whitaker. When you add in a guy like Christian McCaffrey, you open up everything for this Panthers offense because Cam Newton's not a guy that can truly beat you with his arm. You need other runners to help offset the fact that defenses are going to be paying attention to Cam. And if you're going to get punished by Christian McCaffrey, that's one less defender that you can load up against Cam Newton. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. I'm just talking about why I think the NFC South is going to be the most competitive division of football. One is that I think that the Carolina Panthers are going to return back to their sort of Super Bowl appearance form with the addition of Christian McCaffrey to this offense. I think he jumps in right away and makes a difference. I think the Falcons are still elite, okay? People talk about this Super Bowl hangover, Super Bowl curse. Everyone's talking about getting the Falcons come back from the worst Super Bowl lost in the history of Super Bowls. Yes, they can. And when you look at Super Bowl hangovers, right? Because I don't think that it would be fair to even suggest that the Falcons will have this. In large part because Super Bowl hangovers, it's a myth. It's a myth. When you look at the history of Super Bowl curses, which people have started saying around since 1977 that the Super Bowl curse is a thing. It's not a thing. More teams have had bad seasons following a Super Bowl. No, more teams have had good seasons following a Super Bowl loss than have had bad seasons following a Super Bowl loss. Okay? And when you look at the previous Super Bowl hangover teams, right, the last four of them, it's the Panthers in 2015. They went from 15-1 Super Bowl appearance to 6-10. It's the 2006 Bears. They went from 13-3 Super Bowl appearance to 7-9. It's the 2004 Eagles, who also went from 13-3, but they dropped to 6-10. And the 2002 Raiders, who went from 11-5 Super Bowl appearance, lost to the Buccaneers, and they dropped to 4-12. And when you look at all of those teams have a theme. They all have a theme, which is this. That either they play offense in a very specific way and they were not able to play offense in that way the following year, which is what you get out of the Panthers and the Eagles, right? Like the 2004 Eagles go to the Super Bowl, they lose to the Patriots. Then the whole thing with Terrell Owens happens. It blows up their team. Terrell Owens is doing sit-ups while being covered by the media in the driveway of his home. It gets weird. It gets super weird. And then you get those Donovan McNabb injuries. You have no Terrell Owens and no real playmaker beyond Terrell Owens after he leaves you. Philadelphia is done. 2015, the Panthers go on that unbelievable run, 15-1. Lose to the Broncos in the Super Bowl, right? They just get pounded. And then their running game goes to crap. They don't get a whole lot of consistency out of Jonathan Stewart. And they don't get anything out of Mike Tolbert the next year because he's basically just injured and they have to rely on Fozzie Whitaker. The specific way that they played football changed, right? And then the other team, you look at the 2006 Bears. The 2006 Bears had Rex Grossman as their quarterback. Of course, they were never going to repeat 13-3. Their defense got older and declined, and they weren't able to re-sign everybody. And they had Rex Grossman as their quarterback. And I cannot stress that enough. And then in 2002, the Raiders get pounded by the Buccaneers in large part because John Gruden was their coach the year before, comes back, finds out that Bill Callahan has taken over the football team that he once coached and did not change any of the offensive signals in the Super Bowl. They pound the Raiders to death. And at that point, Rich Gannon, who was coming into his own as a quarterback and was a really, really good, really intelligent, cerebral quarterback, gets injured the next year, like 5 games into the season. And that's the end of the Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders don't make the playoffs again until last year. Right? Like, all of these things sort of alter your team. But make no mistake, these Super Bowl hangovers were not the result of a team just being cursed, just being snake bitten, or just losing focus. These are the results of teams that either lost key pieces and key players and couldn't play the way that they used to, or were simply outliers to begin with, like the Bears. This Falcons team, the margin that they were beating people by like 14 points a game. There is no precedent for that last year. That team's elite. This is not a team that was winning by 2 or 3 points here and there. This is a team that was outright walking through opponents. And then they also managed to win close games. And they blistered people. They blistered them. And this is a Falcons team that's remained largely unchanged. Yes, I get it. Kyle Shanahan's not there anymore. All right, fine. But it doesn't really make a difference. I don't know if you've noticed, but the Patriots lose an offensive coordinator darn near every single year. And Bill Belichick is a defensive-minded coach. They keep replacing him, and you never notice, okay? Offensive coordinators matter, but it's not like Kyle Shanahan was running something so complicated that another guy couldn't come in and install his stuff on top of it and have it not change anything. In this case, it's Steve Sarkisian. He comes in. He's the OC. And I just think Steve Sarkisian's intelligent enough and good enough that none of this is really going to be a problem, right? Like, they're not going to take this gigantic step backwards. They didn't lose Kyle Shanahan and hire some scrub. They hired Steve Sarkisian. He's a guy that's well respected as an offensive mind. So I just honestly believe that the Atlanta Falcons are going to remain an elite football team. There's no reason to believe that they fall off here. Matt Ryan's still there. Julio Jones is still there, right? You still have Tevin Coleman. You still have Freeman, Devontae Freeman. Like, you've got all of the pieces that you had. And then defensively, on the defensive side of the ball, you go out, you have some solid draft picks. And then I think more importantly in free agency, you sign Dontari Poe, who is a beast of a defensive tackle. I think he fits into the system very well. And I don't know how you stop that guy. I watched Dontari Poe play in Kansas City. And I assure you that Phillip Rivers and the rest of the AFC West, they sleep a whole lot better knowing that guy's not there anymore, right? Trevor Siemian, Phillip Rivers, all those guys out there, they all sleep a little bit better knowing Dontari Poe is not there bothering them any longer. He's going to be a nightmare for Drew Brees. He's going to be a nightmare for Cam. He's going to be a nightmare for Jameis. It's going to be a rough life now for anybody playing the Falcons defense. This team didn't take any steps back. They only got better. And I'm not saying that they're going to go back to the Super Bowl again because it's so hard to do that. It's so hard to repeat in a Super Bowl. But what I am saying is that this team remains elite. They stay at that high level. And if anything, they ought to be more focused moving forward, knowing that they have an opportunity to try and do this thing again and maybe do it right and finish it out. I'm saying we may be entering an age of Patriots Falcons again, is what I'm saying. It's possible because the Patriots haven't stepped back at all, right? Like, they've showed no signs of slowing down. And when I look at the Falcons, like, the Falcons want to be that team that every year you mention who could win the Super Bowl, who could actually win it. Like, the Falcons want to be that team that you talk about every single year as a team that could potentially win the Super Bowl. And they've made steps to remain in that conversation. And there's no reason to believe that they step back. Okay, like, this is not an aberration. This is not an outlier year. This is a team that hit its stride, and it's only getting faster. Okay, I'll talk about the rest of the NFC South in a second. And also, I'm really worried about an SEC head coach. His health may be in danger. Next.
Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
A woman involved in a crash on Tuesday has been charged with vehicular homicide and DUI after deputies say neither of her children inside of her Kia were wearing seatbelts when she smashed into a Nissan traveling southbound. 2 children were ejected from the car during the crash. One of them died, the other one airlifted to the hospital. A 7-year-old was also airlifted to the hospital with a fractured skull. As yet unnamed benefactors have added funds for the inclusion of In God We Trust decals on the Sheriff's Office cruisers in Bradley County. Red Bank Chief of Police Tim Crystal was let go over personnel issues by City Manager Randall Smith. The previous police chief in Red Bank was fired too back in 2010. A woman was robbed outside of a dialysis clinic. The woman says the man demanded $40 from her. When she said she didn't have any money, he then took her phone and lifted his shirt to reveal a handgun in his waistband. She then gave him the money and drove him to a motel and then drove back to work. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect some clouds and mild weather through your nighttime. Can't rule out a shower, most of those staying to our north. Lows 62 to 65 for Friday. Scattered showers and storms becoming likely, especially later into the afternoon and evening. They could be locally strong, upper 70s, drier and pleasant for the weekend. Check out Little Caesars, where you can enjoy the half and half deep dish pizza for only $9. It's for meat lovers only and only for a limited time at Little Caesars, plus tax at participating locations. And I'm Storm Machine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Need windows? Hey folks, do you need new windows? Good news. Window Depot of Chattanooga has a great special going on right now. 10 high-quality, energy-efficient double-hung vinyl windows installed for only $29.90. That's right, 10 double-hung vinyl windows, only $2,990. And yes, they qualify for the TVA rebates. Call 894-0011. Window Depot of Chattanooga today, located at 5950 Shalford Road. Call 894-0011 today.
If I'm the city's most intelligent man, it's because I take 2 shots of Mind Enhancement Complex every day. Nature's Finest keeps me stocked with my mainstay, Formula 4. That's where I start. Formula 4. Industrial farming, soil depletion, mineral empty food. I just say no. Ask about supplements, health, stamina, circulation, heart, prostate under control. Get the Nooga Radio David Tulis freebie. Save $2 on every 5. 20% off. Nooga Radio, the highway, nature's finest.
The American dream. Home ownership. Are you building equity for your landlord? Why not build that equity for yourself and your family? Rent No More is a no obligation, no cost program. It's designed to teach you the steps necessary and to coach you all along the path to home ownership. Integrity Mortgage Group is owned and operated by local expert Jeff Woody Woodburn. Jeff has been in the mortgage business for over 15 years. Born and raised right here in the Chattanooga area. Jeff is also known as the Lone Ranger. He's helped countless hundreds. Really eager to help you too. So don't wait. Come on, call Danielle right now. You need to reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Nooga Radio is proud to partner with Integrity Mortgage Group to bring you Rent No More. Reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Stop building equity for your landlord. Live the American dream. Home ownership with Rent No More. We'll see you there.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is. Brainerd Road. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
So the NFC South, I contend that the NFC South is now the most competitive division in football. Maybe that's just me, but I don't look at anybody else and have any particular hope, especially when it comes to having good football. Because last NFL season, we may have ended the season in glory, right? We might have gotten, a Super Bowl for the ages. We might have gotten Tom Brady essentially surpassing Michael Jordan as like an American sports icon, which is incredible to think about. But like Tom Brady is going to be synonymous moving forward. When you say the greatest ever, Tom Brady's won the conversation. Okay. Now we will talk about this a little bit later on, because I don't personally like to talk about resumes. What I like to talk about is when you watch the guy play, does that guy not look like the best player you've ever seen? That to me is my metric for whether or not the guy is the greatest. Don't just limit me to talking about your Super Bowls and talking about your MVPs. I want to talk about when you're on the floor, when you're on the field. Is that guy the best guy I've ever seen? But it's hard to argue with everything that Tom Brady has accomplished that the conversation as to, is this guy the greatest of all time? That conversation has ended. It's over. It's Brady. It's not close. And he's still going, by the way. And I think that ends suddenly. Whenever it ends suddenly. Right? But he's still going, by the way. But when you look around the NFL, just because we were able to see a great Tom Brady performance, and just because we were able to see a great Super Bowl and see Tom Brady sort of ascend to these new heights, not just because we were able to see that doesn't mean that we got a good NFL season. We got a garbage NFL season. We got a lot of horrible, horrible games. We got a lot of really uncompetitive football, right? Like games were still close, but they weren't interesting. They weren't aesthetically pleasing to watch. Like outside of watching my team, I can't imagine or think of another time in my life where my enthusiasm for watching football was so low when it came to watching the NFL. Like honestly, college was way more interesting this year. The NFL, that was its least interesting year, was last year throughout the season. It just was. And I think that when you have competitive divisions of football, I think we look very often at the result and we go, oh, that division didn't produce anybody with 13 wins or 11 wins. What I like is in a division of football where all the teams are beating the crap out of each other, and then you got a 9-10 win team emerging, but they're a really polished 9-10 win team, right? Like they just lost games to people who know them at a very fundamental level. I think that's the NFC South. I really do. I think the Falcons are still an elite football team. They're not going to fall off after the Super Bowl. I think that the Panthers will get back to that level, a Super Bowl caliber level. I don't know that that's going to result in 15 wins again, but it is going to be that's going to be a 9, 10, 11 win football team. I honestly think that. And to that end, I don't know exactly where these losses and wins are coming from to make these teams great, but I look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers to me are the most intriguing team in the entire NFL. Right? They are the most intriguing team in the entire NFL because of Jameis Winston. They are incredibly young. And Jameis Winston is a guy who he came out of college and we all knew like Jameis is going to be fine. And there's very few quarterbacks that when you see them get drafted, you're like, yeah, but that guy's going to be fine. Jameis is going to be fine. That was something that we all knew. That's the reason why Jameis went number 1 off the board, right? Like we weren't sure about Mariota. We were pretty sure about Mariota, but we weren't really sure about Mariota. Glad he's working out with the Titans. But with Jameis, yeah, Jameis is going to be fine. Dude's going to be fine. Like Andrew Luck. You saw Andrew Luck come out, and Andrew Luck's going to be fine. So they had that guy in Tampa Bay with him, and Jameis has gotten better each year. And this year's the year. Like year 3 is the year you look for your quarterback to make that leap. Make the jump to another level. And the Buccaneers are pulling absolutely no punches. They are trying to help Jameis Winston make that leap, right? They go out there, they get a Deshaun Jackson. They go into the NFL draft, they draft an O.J. Howard. And you know what? He's got no excuses. And Mike Evans comes back from injury this season. I believe he got injured partway through the year. Last year, Jameis Winston has arguably, of any of the young quarterbacks, the most weapons in football. Because when you look at what Andrew Luck's got, he doesn't have all of that. When you look at what Mariota's got, Titans did try and go out and get him Corey Davis. We'll see how that works out. But when you look at what Mariota's got, Mariota doesn't have all of that. Bortles doesn't have all of that. Look at the young quarterbacks. Trubisky's not going to have anything that looks like that. Jameis Winston, of the young quarterbacks, nobody has more weapons than that guy. Tampa Bay is loaded. And I believe in Jameis and his ability to play football at a very high level. I think this is the year that he makes the leap. He becomes a star quarterback. Now, it's going to be tough because, like I said, the Falcons are going to be elite. I think the Panthers are going to be elite. I don't know if 1 year of having weapons makes Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers elite, but they're going to be very, very good. That defense doesn't get anywhere near the credit that it deserves. It's a talented defense, and it's a good enough defense. They bend, they don't break. I like Tampa Bay's defense. And Tampa Bay's offense, to me, is arguably right up there with the most explosive offenses in the league. Like, they hooked up Jameis for real. Like, he's got weapons now. If Jameis Winston is not capable of making the leap with these weapons, and again, I will give him 2 or 3 years to figure that out, right? It's not going to just be an instantaneous, you snap your fingers and then boom, he's got it. But like if Jameis can't do it with these guys that they gave him offensively within the next 2 to 3 years in terms of making this team a playoff team, making them a legitimate, scary threat in the NFC South, like if you can't do it with this set of offensive weapons, well, you've got Deshaun Jackson. He's going to miss like 6 games for you, by the way. But like in the remaining games that he does play, he's going to be awesome. Like he's always open downfield. You can't cover him. He rips the top off of defenses. You can't get it done with these guys. I can't say that it's ever going to happen. Like O.J. Howard to me is already one of the best tight ends in the league. because he's a beast. He is a man beast. And you can't, like, speed to me is important. You can't teach a guy that size to be that fast. That guy has got an innate ability to destroy at that size and speed. And then on top of that, of course, he's an incredible blocker and he's got good hands. So no excuses out of Jameis Winston. Like, we don't get to make excuses for Jameis the way we make excuses for Andrew Luck. And I look at Andrew Luck in Indianapolis and go, like, who does he throw the ball to, though, really? Okay, T.Y. Hilton. Who else? Oh, nobody? Huh. Like, this entire time he's been throwing the ball to T.Y. Hilton and the ghost of Reggie Wayne. Cool. Like, we don't get to make these excuses for Jameis. Tampa Bay went out and got Jameis all the weapons. So all that's left for him is to just go out there and dominate. Now, the weak link, and every division's got a weak link. Even if a division you consider to be strong is really strong, it's got a weak link, right? Like, the AFC North is considered consistently one of the strong divisions. Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and then, of course, the weak link in their division is perpetually the Browns. You look out in the NFC West, when we considered the NFC West to be strong, when Jim Harbaugh was over there, you had the Niners. They were great. The first year of Bruce Arians was horrifying. We didn't think that the Cardinals were going to get that good that fast. And then you had the Seahawks. And then the weak link was the Rams, because the weak link is always the Rams in that division. And the weak link here in the NFC South is the New Orleans Saints. And it's the New Orleans Saints for one very specific reason. Man, what are y'all doing? That's the reason. I thought that the Saints saw the window of Drew Brees closing. Well, they're not even really closing, like slamming shut. I thought that they saw that and thought to themselves, let's go out here and get ourselves some defensive playmakers. Let's make it so that Drew Brees does not have to win every game by putting up 50 points on the board. Let's try and figure out how to stop opposing offenses from dropping 1,000,000 yards on us. By my expert calculations, 1,000,000 trillion yards. Because that's what it looks like. It looks like a track meet anytime anybody plays the Saints. Right? It looks like basketball on grass. Like, nobody's playing defense against the Saints. It's hard to stop Drew Brees, so he's scoring tons of points on you. But at the same time, the Saints can't stop a soul. It feels like you and 10 friends could put up 21 points on the Saints today. And in the draft and in free agency, the Saints fixed and addressed absolutely none of those problems. Right? Like, they were talking about adding a pass rusher. They got a good corner. They got Marshawn Lattimore. They did get Reuben Foster. Like, they do get better on defense, but, like, this is not. I don't think that this is enough. Especially when you consider, like, they dropped any money at all on Adrian Peterson. They tried to get, Max Unger. They drafted Alvin Kamara. So, like, offensively, they improved. But they didn't need to improve offensively. Drew Brees is Drew Brees, and you still have Brandon Cooks. So, I don't get it. Actually, Brandon Cooks left you, went to the Patriots. So I don't get it. I don't get it. My thing here is we talked about getting Drew Brees weapons. Now, here's the thing. The Saints are still going to give you quality football in this division because of their ability to score at the rate that they score, which is alarming. Like, the Saints are always going to give you points. They're going to give you those shootout games. Which, on a lazy Sunday, you're chilling out, you're relaxing, and the Saints are on TV. I mean, understand, a shootout is coming. And that's kind of entertaining. But are they going to give you a legitimate chance to win? No. I mean, they're the clear and obvious weak link of the NFC South. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. I'm going to jump to college football here because I am worried. I'm worried about the health of a certain SEC coach because he's my favorite coach in the SEC. It's not Nick Saban. I know I talk about Saban a lot, but that's just because he's great. My favorite coach in the SEC, Ed Orgeron. I like everything about Ed Orgeron. I like his attitude. I like his swagger. I like the way that he talks. I like the way that when Ed Orgeron starts speaking, I can't understand anything that he's saying. It's perfect. Ed Orgeron is my favorite coach in the SEC right now. Easily my favorite coach. He's a very enjoyable person, which is why I want Ed Orgeron to be very successful at LSU, and also why I want Ed Orgeron to live for a very long time. And I'm concerned about his health, man. I'm concerned about Ed Orgeron's health because I heard an interview that Ed Orgeron did with Dan Le Batard over on the Four Letter. And Dan Le Batard asked Ed Orgeron how many energy drinks do you drink in a day? And Ed Orgeron, my main man, Ed Orgeron, said 8 to 10 energy drinks a day. Now, I do enjoy caffeine, right? I do enjoy some coffee every now and then. I've been known to drink coffee on this show. You can check it out on YouTube. I've been known to drink an energy drink when I really need to pick me up every now and then. But I've never had 2 energy drinks in a day. 8 to 10? Man, that's how you kill yourself. That is how you kill yourself. 8 to 10 energy drinks in a day. I once had an energy drink followed by a cup of coffee, and I could feel myself becoming one with the universe. I once had an energy drink followed by a cup of coffee. I could hear my heartbeat pounding in my eardrums. How on earth do you drink 8 to 10 energy drinks a day? Which, by the way, is about 5 times as much as the recommended max of caffeine that you should be drinking ever. Ed Orgeron's not going to make it. I mean, one day, Ed Orgeron's going to be coaching LSU football, and then he's just going to explode. Like, absolutely explode. The game, they're just going to have to call off the game because he's just going to go supernova right there in the stadium. You can't do that to yourself, man. Your heart cannot take that. Ed Orgeron is currently drinking enough caffeine to stop a normal man. And this would not be a story worth mentioning, except I like Ed Orgeron. I like him a lot. I think he's a fantastic person. He's at the very least, the coolest coach in the SEC. Right? Like, I'm not entirely certain what my cool coach power rankings would be in the SEC because I'm having trouble like figuring out who the actual coolest coach in the SEC is. It's him. Ed Orgeron is 1. Brett Bielema has to be 2. I don't know. It's kind of open after that one. Barry Odom seems like a really nice guy. Butch Jones is too much like your dad to be the coolest coach in the SEC. He's too corny. Dan Mullen is like the cool dad, the dad that wants to be cool. So Dan Mullen can't be it. Like, look at my Kanye West shoes. It can't be Dan Mullen. It's Ed Orgeron and Brett Bielema. Those are the 2 guys that I want to see in the SEC forever. And Nick Saban's just going to be in the SEC forever. He doesn't need me to wish it, right? I just want Ed Orgeron and Brett Bielema to be there forever. And for that, I need Ed Orgeron to be alive. And for Ed Orgeron to be alive, Ed Orgeron needs to stop drinking 8 to 10 energy drinks a day. That is, at this point, beyond unhealthy. You've entered some new territory. Like, I imagine Ed Orgeron drinks so much caffeine. When he's done, time just slows down for him. Like, Ed Orgeron becomes the Flash. He just gets so much more done than the rest of us because he's downing 8 to 10 energy drinks. I remember there was a kid in my high school when Monster energy drinks, Monster had the BFC cans of energy drinks. It was the big blanket can. of energy drink, and it had 40 ounces of Monster in it, right? Like just way too much caffeine in it. There was a kid in my high school that drank 2 and passed out. Granted, he was a high school kid, sure. But my point is, nobody should be drinking that much caffeine. Okay? Nobody. And what you're telling me is that Ed Orgeron drinks enough caffeine for 4 grown adults, and he's just 1. My mind is blown by this fact. It is, in fact, the most interesting sports fact that I've come across today. You cannot drink that much caffeine and continue to expect to live, man. And like, I've heard rumors about Ed Orgeron, by the way, when he was Pete Carroll's assistant over at USC, that Ed Orgeron would wake up and chew on coffee beans like they were sunflower seeds. This is a rumor that I heard. I have not confirmed it. I have not substantiated it. I don't know if it's true. But if my man was waking up and eating coffee beans, just straight up chewing coffee beans, this is not really surprising. However, it's still kind of deadly. You were not meant to process that much caffeine in your whole life. 8 to 10 beverages a day is horrible for you. Like, even if the beverages don't include caffeine, right? Like 8 to 10 lemonades a day should kill you. How are you drinking 8 to 10 energy drinks of any kind, NOS, Red Bull, Monster, whatever, and still walking around? My God, Ed. Get it together. You got to be here for the long haul. You're my favorite coach. Watch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Drink less caffeine.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
Chattanooga's best kept secret, Boyd Speedway. Come see the fastest dirt late model drivers in the South compete for a purse every Saturday night. Pit gates open at 3, grandstand opens at 5. Racing starts at 7. Bring the whole family for a night of fun as they tear it up on the dirt track. Go to BoydSpeedway.net and check out the Dirt Simulator. BoydSpeedway.dirtsimulator.com. Chattanooga's best kept secret, Boyd Speedway. Fun-filled, outrageous racing. We'll see you Saturday night.
The UCRA Crate Late Model Event. Limited late models, crate late models, sportsman, hobby, and street stocks.
Boyd Speedway.
Competent, kind, caring, knowledgeable, experienced, great listener, great negotiator, in touch, accessible. If these are the characteristics you want and need in a realtor, you want and need Thomas DeMoss of Keller Williams Realty. Thomas is a very gifted realtor who puts the client's needs first. Whether you're buying or selling a home, Thomas is the realtor of choice. Thomas will help and guide you through each step of this very important process. For many of us, the purchase of a home is what 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 a home is one of our largest investments and most important family and financial decision. Let Thomas use his 10 years of experience in the Chattanooga real estate market to give you the advantage you need when buying or selling a home. Buying a house? Thomas can help you navigate the emotional and somewhat anxious process of buying a home. For those of you who want to sell a house, Thomas uses his marketing and negotiating experience to help you sell your home for top dollar. Thomas is a local resident, raising his family here in Hamilton County. He knows the area very well. For many agents, real estate is a job. With Thomas DeMoss, it's a passion and what he loves to do. Call Thomas today for a no-obligation consultation. He makes the process as simple as possible. Call 423-364-0028 and visit his website, northriverpropertygroup.com.
Picture that curl of steam rising from your fresh-made pizza. And in a flash, let it take you aloft, teasing all your senses. I'm talking about Jet's Pizza. If you eat out at Jet's in Hickson or take home your steaming deep dish square pizza, you'll love Jet's. They use only the best ingredients in a family recipe. Also try the cheesy bread, wings, chicken, or bread with bacon, antipasta or Greek salad. Jet's Pizza at Buy Low near the S Curves. Open till 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday. You can order online or have it delivered. jetspizza.com. That's jetspizza.com. Or call them now. They'll have it ready when you get there. 757-1616. That's 757-1616.
Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Final expenses, funeral cost, cemetery lots, unpaid medical bills, probate cost, debts. Debts are due and payable upon death of debtor. Will these costs produce a burden and hardship on your loved ones? Who will be responsible? How will they handle them? These costs can total many thousands of dollars, only compounded greater with the grief of losing a family member. A safe and secure way to provide for these costs is with an affordable life insurance from Covenant Group Insurance and Financial Services. Covenant Group is a local company with local agents. Covenant Group still makes house calls. Covenant Group only represents A-rated companies. With many options to offer, Covenant Group can accommodate almost any budget. Great discounts for good health and plans available for impaired risk. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation in the convenience of your home. Call Steve or Jada at 423-855-8484. Call today, 423-855-8484.
It is Eric Jones hard into the outside wall, and they are still 3 and 4 wide. It looks like we're racing at Talladega.
Caution flag is out. It looked like Denny Hamlin was trying to get by Ricky Stenhouse. Got into the back of Ricky at the line. Oh, that will bring out the caution. Caution waving once again. And again, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved.
Oh, trouble. Ty Dillon has gotten turned to the inside of the racetrack, and Clint Boyer has just nailed him.
Matt Kenseth falling back. The field storming by. Something wrong. Now we see sparks from Kenseth's Toyota.
Larson chucks him off. Coming off turn number 2. Nose to tail. Now it's Logano to the high side in 3.
Joey Logano, a winner here at the Richmond International Raceway, here at
Live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
The voice of NASCAR.
WBLZ HD4 Ottawa. W224AZ Chattanooga.
WSDT Sunny Daisy Chattanooga.
In the post-Comey FBI days, the president reveals...
I'm not under investigation, me, personally.
Cracking down on what the White House sees as voter fraud.
The president is committed to the thorough review of registration and voting issues in federal elections.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Dave Barrett. Just 2 days ago, we were scrambling to get details as the word came that FBI Director James Comey had been fired by the president. Now, says correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
Despite the White House's initial explanation that the matter hinged on the Justice Department's recommendation, Mr. Trump says he'd already made up his mind.
Regardless of recommendation, I was going to fire Comey.
The president tells NBC's Lester Holt.
He's a showboat. He's a grandstander.
Mr. Trump says he asked Comey 3 times if he was under FBI investigation. Once while they were having dinner.
He wanted to stay on as the FBI head. I said, I'll, consider. We'll see what happens.
Mr. Trump says Comey also told him in 2 phone calls.
He said, you are not under investigation.
Stephen Portnoy, CBS News, the White House.
Over at the Senate Intelligence Committee, ranking Democrat Mark Warner.
Frankly, I'm offended at the president's comments today. This is a continuing pattern of disrespecting the men and women who serve in our intelligence community.
New Mexico Senator Democrat Martin Heinrich asked the acting FBI director, Andrew McCabe.
Is it accurate that the rank and file no longer supported Director Comey?
No, sir. That is not accurate. Director Comey enjoyed broad support within the FBI and still does to this day.
Now there's word that the president won't go to FBI headquarters tomorrow after the White House was told Mr. Trump would not be greeted warmly. McCabe also said even with James Comey's exit, the probe into Russian election influence will not go away.
It is my opinion and belief that the FBI will continue to pursue this investigation vigorously and completely.
McCabe does not see a need to appoint a special prosecutor. CBS's Paula Reed says Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein agrees with that.
He believes that every investigation the Department of Justice does is independent and that they are trained to handle things regardless of politics.
Another executive order signed today. Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders says the president is creating a bipartisan commission.
The commission will review policies and practices that enhance or undermine the American people's confidence in the integrity of federal elections and provide the president with a report that identifies system vulnerabilities that lead to improper registrations and voting.
White House correspondent Major Garrett.
It's about trying to find a reason and rationale behind the president's still unproven
declaration on Twitter that 2.5 to 3 million people voted illegally in this election. And not just that, but they all voted for Hillary Clinton.
First-time jobless benefits claims down to 236,000 last week, a 28-year low. Wall Street, the Dow lost 23. The NASDAQ dropped 13 points. The S&P down 5. Now this.
Day is this Sunday, and Pro Flowers is offering an amazing special. 100 stunning blooms for mom, plus a free glass vase for $19.99 plus shipping and handling. Go to proflowers.com, click on the blue microphone in the upper right corner, and enter the secret code $99.99. But hurry, this incredible deal expires this Friday. With fresh flowers, guaranteed delivery, and unique vases and accessories that mom will love, Pro Flowers has everything you need to get your Mother's Day shopping done for all the moms you know. Order now from Pro Flowers to get huge savings. You pick the delivery date and it's guaranteed or your money back. 100 colorful blooms sent fresh from the fields and guaranteed to stay fresh and beautiful for at least 7 days, starting at $19.99. And we'll include a free glass vase. Hurry, Mother's Day is this Sunday, and this incredible special expires this Friday. The only way to get this amazing deal is to go to proflowers.com, click on the blue microphone in the upper right corner, and enter the secret code $99.99. That's proflowers.com, secret code 9999.
A judge in Philadelphia now orders the Amtrak engineer in a fatal accident 2 years ago to face charges. 2 days ago, the DA had said they could not prove that engineer Brandon Bostian acted with conscious disregard when he drove his train at more than 100 miles per hour around a curve built to go 50 on. And 5 people died in the derailment. More than 200 others were hurt.
It's almost inviting people to drive vehicles, cars recklessly. The DA says, well, the fact that he was just speeding along doesn't mean anything.
Attorney Richard Sprague represents some of the victims. The Mormons break away from the Boy Scouts. Bill Rakoff and what the church is saying.
The move has nothing to do with the decision by the Boy Scouts to allow LGBT troop leaders. Rather, it wanted to create its own program tailored around the church and its belief systems. Church and scouting officials say somewhere between 130 and 180,000 boys between the ages of 14 and 18 will no longer participate in scouting next year.
You're listening to the CBS.
3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
A woman involved in a crash on Tuesday has been charged with vehicular homicide and DUI after deputies say neither of her children inside of her Kia were wearing seatbelts when she smashed into a Nissan traveling southbound. 2 children were ejected from the car during the crash. One of them died, the other one airlifted to the hospital. A 7-year-old was also airlifted to the hospital with a fractured skull. As yet, unnamed benefactors have added funds for the inclusion of In God We Trust decals on the Sheriff's Office cruisers in Bradley County. Red Bank Chief of Police Tim Crystal was let go over personnel issues by City Manager Randall Smith. The previous police chief in Red Bank was fired too back in 2010. A woman was robbed outside of a dialysis clinic. The woman says the man demanded $40 from her. When she said she didn't have any money, he then took her phone and lifted his shirt to reveal a handgun in his waistband. She then gave him the money and drove him to a motel and then drove back to work. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect some clouds and mild weather through your nighttime. Can't rule out a shower. Most of those staying to our north. Lows 62 to 65 for Friday. Scattered showers and storms becoming likely, especially later into the afternoon and evening. Strong upper 70s, drier and pleasant for the weekend. Check out Little Caesars, where you can enjoy the half and half deep dish pizza for only $9. It's for meat lovers only and only for a limited time at Little Caesars, plus tax at participating locations. And I'm Storm Sheen 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
So someone had an interesting question. On Reddit, the NFL Reddit. Clutch with Keon Rose, AM 1240.
92.7 FM. You can check us out, by the way, on noogaradio.com. You get access to our Twitter, our Facebook, our YouTube page from there. We stream our local shows live. You get to see what we look like. You get to see what the inside of our station looks like. Sort of peek behind the veil. You get to see how the sausage gets made. I don't know any other cliches that talk about seeing behind things. So my point is, make sure to check that out and check us out. And make sure to give us a call, by the way. Our phone number is 800-8949, 800-8949. That is a 423, not a 1-800. So you won't be charged anything. Just to drop a line and drop your opinion, as well as on our social media. We'd love to hear from you. So I think it's very, very interesting to me about the NFC South. I think it's just a general conference, a division of football. But a question got raised about the over-unders. The over-unders come out in Vegas every single year about basically which team would you bet your life savings on? The over or the under? Which team is most likely to be over or under? And like off the top of my head, it's got to be the Bears, right? The Bears are the new Browns. Like the Browns aren't going to win a ton of games next year, but that's because they're fixing so many things that are wrong institutionally with that team. Like they just don't really have a chance. But the over-under on the Browns is 4.5 wins. And that's just a tough one to gauge. Like, do the Browns win 5 games? Could they actually cobble together 5 victories? Maybe. But you wouldn't be surprised if they didn't either. And like this is where Vegas is able to win, is those teams where you get the half game. It's 5.5. But I'm looking at the Chicago Bears. 5.5 wins. Over under. I'm taking the under on the Bears. And it's not even close. Like that team makes no sense in terms of design. They sign Josh McCown, then they draft Mitch Trubisky. They have holes everywhere. Their offensive line is horrible. Their defense is horrible everywhere. Like the secondary is bad. The D-line is bad. The linebackers are bad. The corners are bad. Everybody's bad. It's not a good football team, and they haven't really fixed anything. Right? And they play in the NFC North. Like if they didn't play in that division where they have to face Aaron Rodgers all the time, well, they're not beating him. They have to face Matthew Stafford and the Lions all the time. Well, they're not beating him. And then they've got to go on and face the Vikings. And the Vikings are a team that, they're not. The ceiling for the Vikings is not super high. But that's because they really believed in Teddy Bridgewater as a quarterback. And then he had an injury on his knee that nearly ended his life. So, like, you can't really blame him for that. But that defense that they have over there in Minnesota is still insane. And I don't see any way that if Mike Glennon, rather, if Mike Glennon or Mitch Trubisky are your starting quarterbacks, like, you really think you can beat any of those 3 teams there? Because you've got to beat any of them at least once each. I don't think that the Bears come close to 6 wins. Honestly, I would be shocked if they won more than 4. Shocked. It's a no-brainer. It's obvious because all these other ones get really tricky. Vegas has the Panthers at 9 wins. What I would assume that they could win. They could win 9. They could win 10. They could win 8. They're in that area. I think they're going to win 9-10 games. But I wouldn't bet on it. Like, which team in the NFL, they're over under, could you actually bet all the money that you had and feel pretty secure? Like the Jets are at 5. I feel like I could go the under on the Jets. The 49ers are at 4.5. I feel like I can take the over on the 49ers, right? Like the 49ers are trash. This is not in any way exonerating the 49ers. I just feel like if the 49ers somehow stumbled and bungled their way to 5 wins, it wouldn't be the most surprising thing on earth. They could find 5 wins in their schedule. But teams I wouldn't bet on the Titans. Vegas has the Titans at 9. If you take the under on the Titans could win 9 games. But I wouldn't take the over either. Like that one's really tricky. Atlanta's tricky. They've got Atlanta at 10. Well, Atlanta's a good enough football team to win more than 10 football games. Like Atlanta could win 12 games. But if Atlanta won 9, and as I said, the NFC South, most competitive division in football, I wouldn't be shocked if Atlanta won 9 games. Because I think the Panthers are going to be a whole lot better. I think the Buccaneers are going to be a whole lot better. And I don't think the Saints are going to be good, but the Saints are going to be tricky. Like, you're not just going to walk into New Orleans and come out with a W. So when I look at that, Atlanta at 10, that's a tricky one. I wouldn't bet on Atlanta and 10 wins. I think they'll win more, but if you said, hey, your entire life savings, all the money that you have, pick an over under, who is 100% could you lock going to disappoint you? 5.5 wins the Bears, and I'm taking the under. Like, I don't think the Bears find 6 wins in their schedule. I would be floored if they found 5, but I don't think that the Bears find 6. Not with that mess that they've made. Okay, you can't have a team draft a quarterback on draft day, and the coach didn't know that the plan was to draft a quarterback on draft day, and the quarterback you drafted also didn't know that it was a plan to draft him on draft day. That's a problem. That's a problem. That is institutional dysfunction of a level that makes no sense. And the Bears, 5.5 wins, that's awful generous. That is awfully generous. I might take the over on the Redskins. 7.5 wins, though. I think the Redskins can win 8 games. Like, the NFC East is getting tougher. Like, we expect the Eagles to be a whole lot better after what they did in the draft. The Giants give themselves that weapon. They get Ingram from Ole Miss to really see if they can help reverse the flow of time with Eli. And the Cowboys are going to be great again. Probably. But even despite all that, the Redskins somehow found their way to 9 victories last year and missed the playoffs because they had a tie. This is not a football team that's gotten worse, right? They lose to Deshaun Jackson in free agency, but they replace him with Terrell Pryor, who proved that he could at least play the position really well. Maybe not as great as Deshaun, but really well. And he'll probably be healthier than Deshaun, too, so you'll have him for more games. That being said, they have to figure out that whole Kirk Cousins situation. If they have Kirk Cousins and they lock him up and then nothing goes horribly awry, then you know what? Go on. But I think 7.5 games is kind of low for Washington. I would take the over on that. But that's about it. Those are the ones. If I had to bet everything I know, I would take the under on the Bears at 5.5 because there's no way. There is no way. I'm booking that one. I will buy Chicago Bears everything. And I will stand in front of this webcam that we have for our YouTube channel dressed as a Bears fan. If the Bears somehow find a way to win 6 or more games. They're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. And I would bet the over Redskins. There's no way on earth, there's no way on this whole earth that the Bears find 6 victories in their schedule. Right? Like, you look at the Bears schedule. Somebody find me six games the Bears are going to win. Let me jump to the Bears schedule right now. You find me 6 games on that schedule this team can win. Because I don't see it. Right? Grab this one right here. There is I don't like without even seeing the schedule. There's no way that the Bears win 6 games. Like none. It's the most obvious answer because like the Browns could potentially win 5. They're a much better team now than they were before. Okay. So the Bears open up their season against Atlanta. No. Then they play the Buccaneers. No. Then they play the Steelers. No. Then they play the Packers. No. So that's 4. We're a quarter of the way through the season. The Bears don't have 1 win yet. Then they play the Vikings in Minnesota early in the season. No. Then they play the Ravens. The Ravens are weird to me. They're up and down. They lose games they ought to win. Can't necessarily rely as much as they want to on Joe Flacco. Yeah. Let's be generous and say somehow the Bears bungle their way to victory after the Ravens give them one. So there's 1. Then they play the Panthers. No. Then they play the Saints. Let's say because the Saints play absolutely 0 defense, right? And like Drew Brees is just having a particularly bad day, like he woke up and just felt sad. That somehow the Bears bungle their way to a win over the Saints. So you got 2 wins and you're halfway through the season. Then they play the Packers again, and that's another no. Then they play the Lions again, and I assure you that ain't happening. Then they play the Eagles, the much improved Eagles, year 2 of Carson Wentz, Derek Barnett added to that defense. That's a no. Then they play the 49ers, who might be bad enough to lose to them, except I just don't think so. But let's give them that one because that's it. That's toss-up, right? Like the 49ers are also awful. So that's 3 wins. Then they play the Bengals. And the Bengals have been rocky and up and down. So let's give them that one too. That's 4 wins. They play the Lions in Detroit. That is an absolute no. Then they play the Browns. Let's give them that one too. Why not? Let's just be kind and give them that one too. Then they play the Vikings, and I think that's a nod. So this whole schedule, if I'm being generous, I've managed to give the Bears 5 wins. They're under. I'm taking that bet. I am 100,000% taking that bet. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. I just don't trust that team and or entire organization. I don't know how that happened. How does that happen? I mean, it's so poorly run. I'm telling you, in the next 5 years, we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bears the way we talk about the Browns. Like a football team that is awful and cannot get out of its own way. That's how we're going to talk about them. Didn't realize that the Bears played the entire NFC South. That's not a good look for them. There is, outside of the Saints, and I was nice and gave them the Saints. Like even with the Saints, like there's no team in that division that the Bears can beat. The Bears can't beat Atlanta. The Bears can't beat Carolina. The Bears can't beat Tampa Bay. Who can they beat? Maybe New Orleans, maybe. But to beat New Orleans, who doesn't play any defense, you're going to have to outscore them. Where are the points coming from? Mike Glennon? Who are your receivers? I mean, poorly designed football team is poorly designed. It's almost unreal. Almost. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So I was looking up stuff for the Tennessee Volunteers yesterday because I was talking about my favorite quarterbacks in the SEC, and I could not really talk about the Tennessee Volunteers at the quarterback position because they don't necessarily have one chosen yet. It's going to be between Guarantano and Dormady, and while we believe it's Dormady, who knows, right? Like Butch Jones could surprise us. Butch Jones typically does not surprise us. This is a man whose favorite sayings are all cliches, whose favorite things to say in press conferences are all cliches that he has used multiple times. And as of yet has not found different ways to say multiple guys on our team, different guys on our team. He just says certain individuals, the words certain individuals. Like if you banned him from saying it, he wouldn't know what else to say. Wouldn't have a clue. Butch Jones is not exactly a man of surprise, is my point. And so we're probably going to see Quentin Dormady at quarterback. He's older. He's got slightly more experience. And Butch Jones' track record of choosing the older, slightly more experienced guy is pretty solid that you can rely on it. Okay, like injuries have been the thing usually that have caused Butch Jones to change quarterbacks. Injuries or a guy playing really bad. To start off the season, though, Butch does not take risks. None. Never. So, possibly, Tennessee's quarterback situation's already solved, but we don't know. My question for Tennessee is where are the other playmakers going to come from? Because, again, this is not a situation that the Tennessee Volunteers have found themselves in typically. They have not typically found themselves in a situation whereupon they have lost a lot of talent to the NFL draft, right? And we know, obviously, where their talent went to. Jalen Reeves-Maybin, they need to replace him. Garrett Barnett, they need to replace him. Joshua Dobbs, they need to replace him. Alvin Kamara, they need to replace him. Like, where are the playmakers for Tennessee going to come from? And there are a few guys that stand out already. Right? Like when you look at Tennessee and their strengths and their weaknesses, what you end up finding is pretty much they're a pretty good football team already. Like on paper, they can get a lot done. My question is, who actually steps up to fill these voids? Right? Like that to me is the ultimate thing. And the ultimate question that, like, when you look at a team like Alabama, that they lose talent year after year after year after year. When you look at them, they're a team, they've managed to find the answer to these questions again and again. And this is the first time that we've seen Tennessee have to find these answers for the first time, like in a very long time, right? Like they've got John Kelly at running back, which I feel like they like him. Jawan Jennings is still there. Josh Smith, though, we'll see about Josh Smith because he did get into that altercation with his roommate. So there's going to be some kind of court case about that because Josh Smith allegedly beat up his roommate. Were they both drunk? Was one of them drunk? Like there's too much stuff in there to unpack necessarily. So we'll see how that all plays out with them. And then Ethan Wolf at tight end is very experienced as well. So like you're looking for those guys to like make the leap, to step up. They really, really, really like John Kelly, though. My thing is at running back, Tennessee has tried to use multiple backs for a while. That seems to be part of their dynamic, is that they want to use multiple backs. They wanted to use Alvin Kamara and Jalen Hurd last year. Then Jalen Hurd ends up leaving Tennessee, transferring out midseason, so he's not playing. And they relied a lot on Alvin Kamara instead of using their multiple back plan, right? Like they were looking for Jalen Hurd to be the Thunder and Alvin Kamara to be the Lightning, and then they just ended up with Lightning, which I don't know that made them one-dimensional because Alvin Kamara proved to be more versatile than anybody gave him credit for previously. At first, the idea was, here comes Alvin Kamara. He's quick, he's speedy. He'll be some kind of scat back. No, now you have to use Alvin Kamara to run between the tackles, and oh my gosh, he's doing it. So when you look at John Kelly, like I know that Tennessee's not necessarily deep at running back. When you look at John Kelly, like if you can rely on John Kelly to do a lot of those same things, and he is a really good athlete, if you can rely on him to do a lot of those same things, like I imagine that the big playmaker stepping up for Tennessee football is going to have to be John Kelly moving forward, especially when you've got a quarterback who's going to need to have some time to get polished, get his bearings under him, because you need that time to gain some experience. Dormady has some experience in terms of getting reps of practice, but neither Dormady or Guarantano have actually started in a college football game. So we'll see how that plays out. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
A woman involved in a crash on Tuesday has been charged with vehicular homicide and DUI after deputies say neither of her children inside of her Kia were wearing seatbelts when she smashed into a Nissan traveling southbound. 2 children were ejected from the car during the crash. One of them died, the other one airlifted to the hospital. A 7-year-old was also airlifted to the hospital with a fractured skull. As yet, unnamed benefactors have added funds for the inclusion of In God We Trust decals on the Sheriff's Office cruisers in Bradley County. Red Bank Chief of Police Tim Crystal was let go over personnel issues by City Manager Randall Smith. The previous police chief in Red Bank was fired too back in 2010. A woman was robbed outside of a dialysis clinic. The woman says the man demanded $40 from her. When she said she didn't have any money, he then took her phone and lifted his shirt to reveal a handgun in his waistband. She then gave him the money and drove him to a motel and then drove back to work. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect some clouds and mild weather through your nighttime. Can't rule out a shower. Most of those staying to our north. Lows 62 to 65 for Friday. Scattered showers and storms becoming likely, especially later into the afternoon and evening. They could be locally strong, upper 70s, drier and pleasant for the weekend. Check out Little Caesars, where you can enjoy the half and half deep dish pizza for only $9. It's for meat lovers only and only for a limited time at Little Caesars, plus tax at participating locations. And I'm Storm Machine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Need windows? Hey folks, do you need new windows? Good news. Window Depot of Chattanooga has a great special going on right now. 10 high-quality, energy-efficient double-hung vinyl windows installed for only $29.90. That's right, 10 double-hung vinyl windows, only $2,990. And yes, they qualify for the TBA rebates. Call 894-0011. Window Depot of Chattanooga today, located at 5950 Shalford Road. Call 894-0011 today.
If I'm the city's most intelligent man, it's because I take 2 shots of Mind Enhancement Complex every day. Nature's Finest keeps me stocked with my mainstay, Formula 4. That's where I start. Formula 4. Industrial farming, soil depletion, mineral empty food. I just say no. Ask about supplements, health, stamina, circulation, heart, prostate under control. Get the Nooga Radio David Tulis freebie. Save $2 on every 5. 20% off. Nooga Radio, Lee Highway, Nature's Finest.
The American Dream. Home ownership. Are you building equity for your landlord? Why not build that equity for yourself and your family? Rent No More is a no obligation, no cost program. It's designed to teach you the steps necessary and to coach you all along the path to home ownership. Integrity Mortgage Group is owned and operated by local expert Jeff Woody Woodburn. Jeff has been in the mortgage business for over 15 years. Born and raised right here in the Chattanooga area, Jeff is also known as the Lone Ranger. He's helped countless hundreds. Really eager to help you too. So don't wait. Come on, call Danielle right now. You need to reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Nooga Radio is proud to partner with Integrity Mortgage Group to bring you Rent No More. Reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Stop building equity for your landlord. Live the American dream. Home ownership with Rent No More. We'll see you there.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
He stole out so much cash. Such a huge amount of cash. and he's become a national star. Rick Davis, you know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling, Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is, Brainerd Road. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I should apologize. I should apologize to Jay Cutler because Jay Cutler became a broadcast announcer. He became the next color commentator for Fox on NFL Sunday. And I remember distinctly saying about 2 weeks ago that Jay Cutler would never be hired to do such a job. Why? Because it's a job that it requires a lot of personality. It doesn't even require accuracy so much as it requires personality, right? Like the play-by-play guy, his job is accuracy. His job is to get you all the information and to get you all that information as quickly as humanly possible and still sound good doing it. Being the color commentator does not necessarily require the same level of accuracy, even though it helps, right? Like when you watch Sunday Night Football, Chris Collinsworth gives you a ton of information, and he's really, really good at sort of just sounding really calm and collected about just handing you all of this information. Collinsworth, who I used to not like, but actually I've come around on Collinsworth. Chris Collinsworth is to me like the perfect color commentator guy. His knowledge of the NFL, he manages to deliver without sounding smug and like better than you. So I enjoy this about Chris Collinsworth, and I've been kind of holding up people against him. But like, to be fair, Chris Collinsworth is the guy that gives this to you accurately, and you don't need it. You don't need it. Case in point, John Madden. John Madden's entire existence as a color commentator can be boiled down to John Madden telling you the most obvious things, but John Madden's personality was bigger than the football. It was bigger than the game. So you just accepted it. Like, John Madden's personality covered up for the fact that John Madden did not always give you useful information when you were watching Monday Night Football. And very often John Madden did not. John Madden gave you John Madden gave you the down and distance sometimes that you were already aware of. It's on the screen. Right? Like John Madden was giving you, well, if one team scores more points than the other team, that's the team that wins most of the time. Like, yes, John. And not most of the time. If you score more points than the other team, that's how you win all the time. That's how games work. But John Madden's personality, like, nobody ever had a problem with Madden. I can't think of a single person who's heard John Madden and thought to themselves, nah, I don't like him. I didn't like him in the movie. I've never talked to anybody who hated John Madden. And why would you actually hate John Madden? John Madden was a national treasure. His personality was bigger than the game you were watching. So it didn't matter that John Madden was giving you the most obvious stuff. Like if you're able to pass for 10 yards, you pick up a first down. Yes, John, that's how first downs work. Right? Like that's, yes. You didn't have a problem with it. And so I looked at Jay Cutler, and more specifically, Jay Cutler's personality. Because, and God bless him, Joe Buck can come across as a very boring man. But I don't need my play-by-play guy to be wildly exciting. My play-by-play guy can be boring if the color commentator isn't. But he's paired with Troy Aikman. And Troy Aikman, who I think is really, really good, I feel like the pairing of Aikman and Buck is oftentimes unfortunate because neither guy gets too particularly excited about anything. Like the biggest play can happen, right? Like Phillip Rivers could throw a 40-yard touchdown pass, and then what you end up getting from Joe Buck is Phillip Rivers drops back in the pocket, throws the pass. It's deep, 40 yards, touchdown. Like, okay, yeah. Try and do that with maybe a little bit more excitement, a little bit more enthusiasm. Like, you don't necessarily get that from Joe Buck, which again is fine, but Troy Aikman doesn't pour in the enthusiasm himself, which is why I'm super excited about Tony Romo being in the booth, is because, you know, Tony Romo's, he's fun sounding. Tony Romo sounds like a guy you want to hang out with. Right? He sounds alive. He sounds like a cool guy. Right? Jay Cutler's entire persona, so far as we have been able to judge it, has been that he is terse, is that he is a man of few words. But then I heard, you know, he went to the interview for Fox. He didn't prepare for it. As with all Jay Cutler things, he's a gunslinger, so he just went out there and just winged it, and he killed it, and they liked him. And what they liked about him was his honesty. That Jay Cutler just kind of says whatever he's thinking. And that is a personality trait that, quite frankly, I drastically underestimated. I did. The factor of Jay Cutler is just going to tell you whatever crosses his mind. I underestimated that. Like, Jay Cutler does not need to be the loudest, angriest, happiest, most excitable guy on earth. All Jay Cutler has to do is tell you exactly what Jay Cutler is thinking. And the Bears are about to be awful. And Jay Cutler is going to have to announce some Bears games. And I can't wait. I can't wait. I would like Jay Cutler to verbally murder the Bears. Because no one can murder the Bears. The Bears off themselves. Okay. You sign one subpar quarterback to a 2-year, way too much money deal, and then you draft another one. What are you doing? What are you doing? That's where I'm at with them. But I would still like to hear it from a man who played there, a man who apparently has no filter. I would accept that. I will accept that in exchange for the fact that Jay Cutler does not come off as like the most wildly excitable guy. In exchange for the lack of excitement, the lack of filter is an acceptable exchange. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. This broadcasting thing is hard enough. You got to have something. You got to have something. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Though I will say this, because I did talk before the NFL draft about Jabril Peppers, because Jabril Peppers had the diluted sample and people started acting like Jabril Peppers was just on drugs. Just all the drugs, basically. Like this guy, this is suspicious that his sample is diluted. When all that has to happen for your sample to be diluted is that you drink a lot of water. And not gallons on gallons on gallons of water, by the way. You drink 2 water bottles an hour. And that's it. You can get a diluted sample from that. You drink a couple of water bottles an hour for about 4 or 5 hours. you are going to have a diluted sample. It's way too easy to get a diluted sample. And this is a guy that was trying out for 2 different positions at the NFL Draft Combine. This is a guy that had the flu at the NFL Draft Combine. And this is a guy that has a history of cramping. All of those things. Like if you have the flu, if you go to the doctor's going to tell you, drink lots of water. If you're going to exercise a lot and you go to the doctor's going to say, drink lots of water. If you cramp a lot and you go to the doctor's going to say, drink lots of water. If you go to the doctor and you have any of those 3 problems, he's going to tell you drink lots of water. Jabril had all 3. So he drank a lot of water, had a diluted sample. Now, yesterday, a contributor to ESPN 850 in Cleveland, Ohio, the team that ended up drafting Jabril Peppers because he fell in the draft, she went on their daily radio show and delivered on multiple occasions, hot take after hot take after hot take, about how Jabril Peppers was going to fail in the NFL because he was on the lean and Molly. Dude was taking drugs. That was what she insisted. But whenever any of her co-hosts asked her to bring up any such proof as to where it is that it came from, that Jabril Peppers was on the lean and the Molly, there never was any. And some Browns fan put together a whole video of her just accusing Jabril Peppers with baseless accusations. And eventually it got to the point where the Browns were calling the show, where Jabril Peppers was trying to call the show, because they were all trying to figure out, where was this coming from? You cannot make baseless claims and just walk away from it. Not in this business. And I understand on some level that people in radio, we understand that your job is at risk. You understand that like any of the next words that come out of your mouth, if you don't say them correctly, you say the wrong thing, you could be out of a job tomorrow, right? Like people talk about talk radio and they talk about it like it's some easy job that you just show up, like you just show up and talk. No, you don't just show up and talk. And I'm, in addition to preparation, is the understanding that the next words you speak could be the last words you speak in front of a microphone meaningfully ever again. Right? That's the problem. That when you look at Curt Schilling has this problem. Curt Schilling did a really good job covering baseball, but Curt Schilling continues to just blast all of these highly controversial opinions everywhere, and he lost his job and he's continued, and he's never going to be hired as a broadcaster ever again. It's over. As long as he's cool with being on his own podcast and people listen to it, then I guess that's fine. But like in terms of being hired as a broadcaster, I highly doubt that Curt Schilling will ever be hired ever again. Everything that you say in front of a microphone could be the last thing that you say in front of a microphone that matters. Every single time. And some people get lucky and end up bouncing to other places, and some people don't get so lucky, and that's that. Their career, it's a wrap. So for Sabrina Parr to be this reckless, to be talking about Jabril Peppers, a person who there's no proof. There's no proof that Jabril Peppers is a guy that was high out of his mind and that he was always on drugs. And I don't know. You look at what he did at Michigan. They asked Jabril Peppers to do everything on that team. They asked Jabril Peppers to play defense. They asked Jabril Peppers to play offense. They asked Jabril Peppers to return kicks, both punts and kickoffs. They asked Jabril Peppers to be just about every darn thing on that football team, and he did so very, very well. Like, if that guy were as high out of his gourd as you said that he was, why was he able to do all of those things so spectacularly? It's rough. Like, it's not like you're saying that the guy's on Molly. That's not performance-enhancing drugs. That's recreational drugs designed with the specific purpose of messing you up. But you're telling me that the guy was taking recreational drugs at a level so intense that he decided he had to water down his sample, which, by the way, Reuben Foster from Alabama also had a diluted sample, again, because he was trying out for multiple positions. So you just drink a little extra water. Right? Like just because you have a diluted sample doesn't mean that you're a druggie. Right? Like that's not it at all. That's such an insane assertion to make, and she said it with so much confidence. With so much confidence. And you have guys like Charles Barkley that just say, like, they say whatever, you know, and that's like the joy in listening to Chuck, is that he just does not care. But like, even Charles Barkley is not untouchable from this. Were he to say something truly awful, were he to say something truly wrong, even Charles Barkley would not be exempt from the fact that, like, you say the wrong thing in front of a microphone, you lose your job. Yeah, you just can't do it. You've got to be careful. But not too careful, because then you're not entertaining. It's a tough line of work. So I got some Mocs news for you. Okay, the Mocs opened the SoCon softball tournament by upsetting Furman. The Mocs are the lowest seed in the Southern Conference, but this is a good softball team, and by no means should you look at that as, well, how far can this team go? This team could win this tournament. Absolutely. Right? Like, they had a good recruiting class last year. The Mocs, to me, as far as softball goes, it's a tough thing to gauge, especially when it comes to production. But like, tournaments are things that you can get hot in a tournament, right? Like, you play your softball at the right time of year, you can get hot in a tournament. So the Mocs knock off Furman and look to advance in the tournament. And I'm looking at this team and going, how far can they really go? Because it doesn't feel like they're as limited as their ranking in the tournament says that they are. So there we go. The Mocs knock off Furman and advance in the SoCon tournament. And in basketball recruiting news, Lamont Paris, the new head coach of Chattanooga Mocs basketball, has brought on board Jonathan Bryant II, Jerry Johnson Jr., and Justin Brown, as well as James Lewis Jr. They've all turned in their letters of intent to the program this season, even though Jerry Johnson Jr. is going to have to sit out because he transferred from Fairfield. And afterwards, he'll have a couple of seasons of remaining eligibility. And adding these guys gives the Mocs some scoring in Lewis. It gives them length, and it gives them an offensively sound team. Right? Like, all these guys were double machines in high school, basically. So gives you something moving forward that, for me, when you think of Mocs basketball, like, it is at least in the recent years, it is sort of about offense. So I am hoping that, like, the Southern Conference and the dominance of the Southern Conference does continue. I saw the Mocs fall apart last year at the end of the year when it looked like, well, this is a team that could be a tournament team, an NCAA tournament team. Fell apart at the end of the year, in large part because they just found difficulty in scoring baskets. So this recruiting class, I'm excited about it. I think that offensively, this helps them a great deal. And in future NFL talk, in way too future NFL talk, Josh Allen is becoming the focus of the NFL draft. And I'm telling you something. First off, the NFL draft is something that we've been worrying about further and further out every year, to the point where this past NFL draft just happened. It just happened. Okay, it was 2 weeks ago that we had the NFL draft. Why are we on to next year's draft? I'm seeing mock 2018 NFL mock drafts. We haven't had the 2017 NFL season yet. 2018 NFL mock drafts. And we're looking at firing up the NFL draft hype machine. And who has become the latest victim of the NFL draft hype machine but Josh Allen, who plays over at the University of Wyoming, who did not realize that people liked him as much as they liked him. He starts getting phone calls because we fired up the hype machine. We fired it up, and there's no slowing it down now. We've decided that Josh Allen is the next Carson Wentz. That's what we've decided. And he's not even aware of that, right? Like, he started getting phone calls, and he said he thought it was weird. Because when a bunch of scouts decide that they like you, they like you. Now, this to me is not troubling for the NFL ramifications. This is more troubling for the college football ramifications, which is that when we decide that you like a player, you just obsessively follow a player. And I've told you multiple times, I do not like following college football recruits because they are young boys. They are high school boys, and obsessively following some guy on Twitter who's 15 years old just because he's got a pretty decent vertical and possibly large hands does not mean that it's okay to obsessively follow him. It really doesn't. It's a bizarre thing to me. It's socially acceptable for people to just follow high school age boys on Twitter because, well, they might be future college football stars. Is that not insane? But it's insane, and it happens because every year we inch further and further back with what we allow this tracking process to be. And we're looking at guys in a recruiting class 3 years out. But why? We need to stop it. Like, that is absolutely reprehensible. In no way is that acceptable. None. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Remember, folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you on this show in 24 hours. And Ed Orgeron, drink less energy drinks.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
Chattanooga's best kept secret, Boyd Speedway. Come see the fastest dirt late model drivers in the South compete for a purse every Saturday night. Pit gates open at 3, grandstand opens at 5. Racing starts at 7. Bring the whole family for a night of fun as they tear it up on the dirt track. Go to BoydSpeedway.net and check out the Dirt Simulator. BoydSpeedway.DirtSimulator.com. Chattanooga's best kept secret, Boyd Speedway. Fun-filled, outrageous racing. We'll see you Saturday night.
The UCRA Crate Late Model Event. Limited late models, crate late models, sportsman, hobby, and street stocks.
Boyd Speedway.
Competent, kind, caring, knowledgeable, experienced, great listener, great negotiator, in touch, accessible. If these are the characteristics you want and need in a realtor, you want and need Thomas DeMoss of Keller Williams Realty. Thomas is a very gifted realtor who puts the client's needs first. Whether you're buying or selling a home, Thomas is the realtor of choice. Thomas will help and guide you through each step of this very important process. For many of us, the purchase of a home is one of our largest investments and most important family and financial decision. Let Thomas use his 10 years of experience in the Chattanooga real estate market to give you the advantage you need when buying or selling a home. Buying a house? Thomas can help you navigate the emotional and somewhat anxious process of buying a home. For those of you who want to sell a house, Thomas uses his marketing and negotiating experience to help you sell your home for top dollar. Thomas is a local resident, raising his family here in Hamilton County. He knows the area very well. For many agents, real estate is a job. With Thomas DeMoss, it's a passion and what he loves to do. Call Thomas today for a no-obligation consultation. He makes the process as simple as possible. Call 423-364-0028 and visit his website, NorthRiverPropertyGroup.com.
Picture that curl of steam rising from your fresh-made pizza. And in a flash,